date for development. A meeting at the Prime Minister's office could spell construction at Bahamar.
A major step by the Bahamas today, signing on to major conventions at the UN. I'm Clint Watson. Stories ahead.
Top up, the race is on for the second cellular provider. The Bahamas Tonight, the national report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
The nation's chief and Bahamar's developer meet today in what has been described as an excellent meeting. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisma Robinson.
And I'm Chris Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, met with Bahamar Chairman and developer Sarkis Ismailian today at the office of the Prime Minister. Our cameras were able to get just a glimpse of the developer arriving at the Prime Minister's Cable Beach office along with what appears to be other Bahamar executives. The Prime Minister in a release called the meeting, like we said, excellent, as they discussed the future of Bahamar. The Prime Minister indicated that he was pleased that Mr. Ismailian had given assurances of his continued cooperation with the provisional liquidators and of his preparedness to participate in meetings convened by them to explore the settlement of outstanding issues between the parties on commercially viable terms. The Prime Minister pointed out that Mr. Ismailian, the China XM Bank and China State Construction Company have all reiterated their desire and commitment to complete and open the Bahamar Resort as soon as possible. The Prime Minister added that this is also the primary objective of the government. The Prime Minister met with China Construction America and China XM Bank recently in an effort to get the $3.5 billion project back on track to open this year. We'll follow that story. Also, phase 2 of the selection process for the country's second mobile service provider is now underway. Cleopatra Murphy tells us tonight it's just a matter of time before that final decision is made.
IRCA announced the spectrum auction for the second cellular licensee began at 10 a.m. Monday. Cable Bahamas Limited and Virgin Mobile Bahamas Limited are the two companies left vying for the license after Digicel removed itself in April without explanation. IRCA says the auction is a multi-round process where bidders will place ascending financial bids in each round, which will continue until there is a winning bidder. The auction, originally set to take place in May of this year, is phase 2 of the request for a proposal process and will help determine who will get the second mobile license. According to IRCA, in November 2014, Prime Minister the Right Honorable Perry Christie, the minister responsible for the electronic communications sector, decided the method for allocations and pricing cellular mobile spectrum in accordance with Section 30 of the Communications Act 2009. The government then initiated a competitive selection process that would result in the authorization of one additional cellular provider. Phase 1 of the selection process, the technical assessment of proposals, was completed in April. Once the auction is completed, IRCA says the winner will be announced. The company that secures the license will be required to launch its services in phases with complete national coverage within 3 years. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
The Bahamas makes history at the United Nations General Assembly by becoming the latest country to support the rights of the disabled and to ensure the protection of children. It's a major step as a member of the global community and one the Bahamas expects to lead the region in. Clint Watson has the story tonight from New York.
A landmark day for the Bahamas at the United Nations as we became the latest country to support the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Social Services and Community Development Minister, the Honorable Melanie Griffin, deposited the instrument of ratification at the annual treaty event of the 70th session of the UN General Assembly.
The Bahamas is committed to advancing the rights of persons with disabilities in all spheres of society, and I look forward to joining the 157 state parties to the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities at the 9th session in June 2016.
The move comes on the heels of the government unanimously passing legislation known as the Persons with Disabilities Equal Opportunities Bill, a law that concretely advances the rights of the disabled community and in particular legislates opportunities for employment.
In the Bahamas, for the first time, we have something that is somewhat of a quota whereby in the actual law, and we've gotten employers to sit with us and to agree to this, that there, for every 100 employee a company employs, they have to employ 1%. 1%, I think it's 1% persons with disabilities. That is very, very important, particularly where we have those companies that have 800 to 2,000, 3,000 persons. It becomes very important for persons with disabilities.
The Bahamas is the first in the region, aside from Guyana, to implement legislation for the disabled. Having done so, Minister Griffin says work intensifies to fully implement the law.
And so we have to now move forward to ensure that all the provisions of the legislation are brought into force and that we take some action to ensure that our persons with disabilities really get their due. They are an important, every segment of our population, of our community, of our society. Every segment is important, and for far too long they have been suffering because of lack of legislation, lack of equal opportunities. And we have the commission in place, the Disability Commission is in place, we have the Executive Secretary and his staff in place, and so they've been doing a lot of work, and it can only be now full speed ahead for us.
Now, also enforced and deposited today were instruments to support legislation and convention on child pornography and child prostitution, as well as children involved in armed conflicts. Already, the Bahamas has laws that prohibit these kinds of acts from taking place. At the United Nations, Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
Members of the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities is calling today a Red Letter Day as they welcome the steps taken at the United Nations. Chairman Charles Bethel says this step ensures the Bahamas adopts a global standing, creating access and opportunity for the disabled. The commission, he said, will soon appoint inspectors to ensure that businesses are adhering to the Disabilities Act.
Requires that businesses that have 100 persons or more engage at least 1% of their population must have a disability. So if there are 100 people, one person, they would be required to engage one person with a disability. If they're 200, then two persons and so on. So that will open up a lot of opportunities for persons with disabilities. Right now, the Commission is building up a data bank for persons, a data bank that persons with disabilities, particularly mobility issues, can perform with ease. We're working with one or two disabled persons in the community that are providing us with this listing. Things like police dispatcher or ambulance dispatcher, receptionists, those sorts of activities.
Bethel said it is not known how many people are living with disabilities in the Bahamas, but the Commission hopes to change that with the implementation of a registry soon.
A pilot and 3 passengers are safe tonight after the plane they were on board crash-landed in waters off Chub Key after 10 this morning. Authorities say the Aztec 6-seater encountered engine trouble and the captain had to make a ditch landing in 45-foot waters. The 4 were rescued by boaters around 10:30. When they arrived in the area, they reportedly met them in the water with their life vests on and the plane upside down. One of the passengers injured his shoulder while the others appeared to be in good condition. The Department of Civil Aviation is investigating this matter.
In just a matter of days, registration will begin for the upcoming 2017 general elections. I'm Carla Palmer. I'll have this story coming up in the Bahamas tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by the new Shell and Leaded, designed for extra miles.